Hello, hello. I think that I am maybe live. We shall see. Okay, so I am just going to dive right in. So, good evening, everyone. Today is December 28th, and I am here to talk to you about the new coronavirus relief bill that was just passed last week by Congress and signed by the president last night. So this makes it a lot more real than it has been in the past. So just wanted to say to you as you're coming on, I know a lot of you that will be watching on replay. So welcome if you're here on replay. If you are on replay, I love that. So just comment hi and hashtag replay so I can come back later and catch you and say hello to you. And then just know that I will come back and answer questions. Even if you ask them from a replay, I will come back and look at the comments. So please feel free to do that or message me anytime. But this is most helpful if we have interaction. So if you do come on live, then, please tell StreamYard that it can know who you are, and then that way I will see that you are there, because otherwise I can't, you just show up as a random Facebook user. So again, my name is Christy Varner, and tonight what I want to talk to you about is the new coronavirus relief bill that was passed. And I want to share with you the main takeaways, the main points of it that apply to you as entrepreneurs and small business owners. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So the COVID relief bill, I want to kind of give you a broad overview of it first. So kind of a fun little fact in case you get into a trivia contest with people is that it is 5,593 pages. So no wonder it took them so long to talk about this and debate it and all that jazz. Hi, I see somebody said hi, but I can't tell who it is because you haven't done the StreamYard thing, I think. So if you hit up above or down below that you're say okay for me to see who your name is, then I'll know who you are. So thanks for watching live. Anyway, so broad overview, it's 5,593 pages. I have not read all 5,593 pages, but the reason that it's that long is because it's the whole government spending bill, which is what it takes. So you may have heard like on the news, them talk about like government shutdown and all that. That's because like the government has to have a spending bill in order to keep the government running. So this coronavirus relief is in that big bill. Okay, so the bill itself is like, I don't know, $2 trillion or something. And the coronavirus relief portion is like, I don't know, 900 million, whatever. It's big numbers, people, but that is within that. So that's your fun little trivia. But so let me tell you some things that are within that coronavirus relief bill that aren't necessarily for small businesses, but also, just pertain to us just as Americans, right? So one is direct payments. So direct payments to individuals. Just like we had the $1,200 last spring that applied to adults and children, but not adult children, not adult dependents, will apply again, but it'll be $600. So instead of $1,200, it's going to be a very similar structure to the $1,200 that we had last spring, but it's going to be $600. It phases out, I think, $75,000 for individuals and $150,000 for couples is the phase out number, or where it starts phasing out. But anyway, so that's one takeaway. So that will apply to some of you. The other thing is the extension of the PUA. So that is going to continue, and unemployment of an additional $300 per week is going to kick in January and go on for another 11 weeks. So that affects a lot of people. I think it was $600 through July, and then it went away. The additional 600 did, and then the regular PUA just went away. But so this is extended, and the $300 extra goes through the end of March. So that's, or not through the end of March, 11 weeks. I mean, how random, but it's in March. And then the last thing that I kind of want to point out was the moratorium on evictions is going to extend for one additional month. So that's the end of January. So that affects some of you as landlords, definitely affects renters. So just that's just something to know. So now let's dive into the heart of what we're talking about today, the specifics to you as entrepreneurs and small business owners. So first of all, I just want to reintroduce myself for those of you that I haven't met, because we are on, all fancy, we are on YouTube, my Facebook page, and in our Facebook community, in our group, Small Business Finance Simplified. And if you're not in our in our group, I would love for you to come over and join us. It's a place where I just try to share finance and accounting tips. My passion is for you as entrepreneurs and small business owners to grow confident in understanding the number side of your business so that you can implement strategies to achieve your goals. I am an accidental accountant. I've been a CPA for 25 years. I had no interest in numbers, so I'm not your normal accountant. But I became an accountant, kind of a long story, funny story, I'll tell you sometime. But what I want you to know is that what I've learned through these years is that numbers are like gold, and understanding your numbers actually gives you so much insight into running your business better. And I've seen so many entrepreneurs and small business owners work super hard and give it their all, and that alone will not that alone is not what makes you successful. It's also having a strategy. And so that's just my passion, is to help you understand this and to explain it to you and help you come up with strategy. It's what I do in my own consulting business. And it's what I do, you know, just try to pour into you guys here in this group. And I'm here to answer your questions. So please feel free. And oh, you're welcome. It's so sweet. Whoever said that, thanks for doing this. That's very sweet. That makes me happy. I'm so happy to do it. I want to help you guys. And I want you to know I'm a small business owner too. So don't feel bad that you don't get numbers or you don't get money. I also don't get certain things. I don't get SEO. And so I get experts to help me. And I know that there are those of you within this group that have all sorts of expertise that I do not have and I do not know. So I'm willing to share what I know with you. Now, I am not your CPA, so obviously consult with your accountant, and don't rely on everything I say. You know, see your tax person. I'm definitely not a tax person. But I'm just a regular girl, and I just read the stuff, and I've been doing this for 25 years. So I do know some of what I'm doing. Okay, so what matters from this bill? So specific to this bill, there's a second round of PPP. So that is a big deal. So drop in the comments below if you got PPP the first time. Just say PPP yes or PPP no. I'll be interested to see that, especially as I go back through and read through the comments, because I want to kind of understand you guys and the audience on whether or not you took a PPP loan the first time. But this pertains to whether or not you did take a PPP the first time, because you can go back and get a PPP loan even if you didn't. Oh, yes, no, see, I love it. Different answers. Yeah, thank you guys for saying that. It's good for me to see the different things, and I'd be interested to hear more about that. But it doesn't matter. Even if your answer is no, you can get, if you qualified and you didn't do it, you may be able to do it the second round. So let me tell you about the second round. It's similar to the first round in a lot of ways. Now, let me just say that the bill has passed, but we don't have guidance yet. So guidance will come out from the SBA, the Small Business Administration Association, whatever, the SBA, and the Treasury. And that will be interpretive guidance, which is basically like the actual playbook for how this works, right? So Congress makes like, here's the big idea. And then the Treasury and the SBA actually write down like how that's going to work. And you may remember that if you've been through that the last time. And then they tell the banks, and then the banks tell you. So please don't get yourself in a panic. Can I just stop and say that? Don't get in a panic. Okay? Nothing is happening today. You want to be as prepared as possible, and you want to understand it, but nothing's happening at this, second. So, but I also want to tell you that I am cheering you on. I am so proud of you for owning your own business and for getting out there and doing this. And I know that it's been hard, and I know it's been a scary year for a lot of you. I know that you wake up and you check your bank account balance every morning, a lot of you, and you worry about your employees, you worry about all your stuff in your business, paying the rent, just having enough money, all that stuff. And I just want you to know that I am there for you. I'm cheering you on and supporting you. Personally, I shop from small business all the time. Professionally, that's, my passion, and what my job is supporting you. So I just want you to know that. So please just take a deep breath and know that this bill should be helpful, hopefully, to a lot of you that suffered. So the bill applies to those of you with less than 300 employees. You had to have been in business by February of 2020. If you got a first round of PPP, you had to use the money. And then there's a new twist, and I kind of like it, but it says that you have to, in order to take the second draw, you have to demonstrate economic hardship. Okay, so you have to have proved that you actually really need the money. And the way that you prove that is by having any one quarter during 2020, and a quarter is 3 months of the year, Jan 1 to March 31st, April 1 to June 30th, July 1st to September 30th, or October 1st to December 31st. Those are the set quarters of the year in business. Any one of those quarters in 2020 compared to the same quarter in 2019, you must have 25% less in gross receipts. Okay, gross receipts is not really an accounting word, so it's a little bit nebulous. Remember, it's Congress that, just said the words, and then the SBA and Treasury have to define all that. But my assumption at this point, and we'll see when it all comes out, but my assumption is that is going to be top line revenue. Okay, so it's going to be if you're talking about a profit and loss statement, it's your sales number, it's your revenue up at the very top, your gross receipts. Okay, so for a lot of you, you had a pretty crummy 2020. So that you could pick any quarter. It doesn't matter which quarter, as far as we can tell right now. I have all 5,593 pages don't apply, but a lot of them do. And these are most of them that do apply. So if you weren't in business for all of 2019, there are certain rules that apply. What I'm trying to do today is not address every single question, but I'm trying to address the majority of the bulk of the questions. And then you can feel free to reach out to me, ask me questions. I don't know if I'll know all the answers. I'll be really honest, there aren't all the answers yet. I had somebody ask me a really specific question last week, and I was like, hey, that's not in there. Because all the specific questions aren't out there yet, but I want to give you some guidance on the majority of it. So first things first, under 300 employees, economic hardship by demonstrating 25% less in gross receipts during one quarter of 2020 relative to that same quarter of 2019. There is a cap on the loan amount of $2 million this time. It was $10 million on the last one. So this is definitely geared to you guys, to the smaller business, the heartbeat of America, okay? $2 million. It is calculated based on average monthly payroll, which should feel familiar to you if you did the PPP the first time, because that is the same calculation. And it is based off all of calendar year 2019 or the 12 months preceding when you apply for the loan. So obviously, you're going to want to take the greater of those numbers, right? So your average monthly payroll for 2019 or the 12 months before. So, if you apply in February of this year, then you could throw in, January of 2021 back through February of 2020 or whatever. But you want to go with whichever one is higher. So for a lot of you, this calculation is going to be very familiar, and you already have it because you did this before. Now, there is a special provision if you are in, it's NAICS code 72, which is basically restaurants, and you're allowed 3.5 times your average monthly payroll for your loan amount up to $2 million. And then there are some special provisions in here. I'm not going to talk all about them, but there's special provisions for different categories, including seasonal. So if that fits you, then go back and look at it, or, feel free to DM me and ask me a question, because I would be happy to try to answer that for you. I'll be honest, I didn't read all that in great detail because I know it doesn't apply to most of you. And what I want to hit on today is what applies to most of you. So another thing is forgiveness. Forgiveness is going to stay very much the same. You have to use at least 60% of it for payroll purposes. The change is that, if you'll remember, 40% of it could be used for non-payroll purposes, and that was pretty specifically defined, like rent, utilities. There wasn't a whole lot that you could have in there. So one change they made to that is they expanded what you could use that PPP money for to be in that 40%. And they included things like supplies, some software that you may need, retrofitting your facility for COVID, PPE, property damage. There are a lot of different kinds of things that. What does that say? What? Oh, sorry. I don't know what that means. Wash hands. You're going to have to tell me what that means. So sorry that I don't know. But yeah, so there are a lot of different new things that are included. So that's great news also, right? Because it's allowing you, the idea behind this is help you, right? To help you be able to spend the money. One other big change is, two other big changes. So one is that the EIDL Advance, not the loan, but the Advance, used to have to be deducted from your PPP loan forgiveness amount. Okay, that was repealed. So if you already went through the whole forgiveness process and took that EIDL Advance out of your PPP forgiveness, I don't know exactly how it's going to work, but what has been said is that you're going to be made whole. So I would not call your bank up tomorrow and try to get yourself made whole, because I assure you that the bankers right now are, back to like, oh goodness, this is about to hit again. But they should be faster this time, you guys. They should be faster because they already know, they've been through this. A lot of it's very similar. But so the EIDL thing, that's a big deal. Not the loan part, but the advance part. The second really big thing that I just wanted to mention is that you guys remember when we originally got the PPP, it was that your covered period was 8 weeks. You had to use it in 8 weeks. Well, then they came back and said, okay, you get to choose 8 weeks or 24 weeks. So this time they've done a little bit of a twist, and this is way better. You can choose anywhere between 8 and 24 weeks as your covered period. So if it takes you 12 weeks to use that up, because obviously for forgiveness, if you can use it all for payroll, that's just easier, right? It's just easier. And it's calculated as 2.5 times average monthly payroll. So in theory, if you had the same number of people, you could use it up in 2.5 months. Now, I do know a lot of you don't have the same number of employees, so maybe it takes you longer. But if you could use it all for payroll, for those purposes, for showing it for the forgiveness, then that would be, easiest, obviously, for the forgiveness period. So it's cool because this time you don't have to hang on for the entire 24 weeks, which caused some people to hang on to employees for longer because of the FTE calculation. So that's gone. So you can cut that off at the time that makes sense for your business. Does that make sense? I hope so. So I think that is really, really good news. I want to look and see. Okay, one other thing that is a huge thing, and if you saw my video in November where I told you guys about the Treasury clarification, this is huge news. This is huge news. So when the CARES Act was originally passed, Congress said that this money, this PPP money, would not be taxable income. Okay, they did not want you to be taxed on it, which was great. Well, then the Treasury and the IRS came back and They were like, oh yeah, except there's this little section in the rules that say if it's non-taxable income, which Congress said, then you can't deduct expenses that were paid for with that income. So essentially, in a roundabout way, made it taxable again. And so I told you that, and I went through a whole example with you about how if you had $100,000 and you paid 70, but 20 of it was from the government, then you now needed to pretend like you'd only paid 50 because you were going to be taxed on it. Well, hey, here is the good news. This bill came back and adjusted that for the first PPP and this one. So hear that again. This adjusts your 2020 taxes. So this is good news. I mean, like, this is huge news. I do not even know how to explain. This is huge news for you. So now it is no longer, it is not no longer, it is deductible. The expenses you paid for with your PPP money are deductible for tax purposes. So that is a huge, big deal. So the income is not taxable, but the expenses are deductible. So in this instance, for your book purposes, for your financial purposes, if you have a forgiveness, it's essentially kind of a wash. So you are going to record it as when you get forgiven, you're going to take it out as a loan and record it to other non-taxable income. And of course, you're going to record your payroll as expense. So that just nets to zero, right? Well, cool news, you are not going to record that income for your taxes, but you are going to get to keep the expenses. So do you see what that's going to do? It's going to allow you to have a lower taxable income amount. So check with your tax advisor on that, but this is very good news for your tax planning purposes, and that will apply to the PPP you got in 2020 as well as the second draw that you'll be able to get in 21. It addresses both of those within that CARES Act. So I mean, within this new coronavirus relief bill. So I'm very excited about that because I think that is a big, big deal. Okay, I have so many more notes, but I really do think that is the major part. I can't stand talking super long. I don't know. Oh, I feel like I've already talked long. But I want you guys to be able to ask your questions. So please drop in the comments below. If you plan to apply, put PPP2. That's what people are calling it now. PPP2, yes. Or no, or unsure. If you don't know if you're going to apply or not apply, I would love to know that. Please also drop your comments and your questions, because I assure you, if you have a question, so does somebody else. So I just tried to hit kind of the broad highlights today, because what I really want is for you to take away from this. The quick summary is under 300 employees, economic hardship of 25%. 1 quarter in 2020 over 1 quarter in 2019, a reduction of 25% of gross receipts. I think the 2 million might not apply to most of you as a maximum, but that is a new maximum. New thing that you can go anywhere between 8 and 24 weeks. The EIDL Advance has been repealed as something that's not part of the forgiveness. And the huge news that the expenses that you paid for with your PPP money are in fact deductible. Huge good news. You guys, I am cheering you on. Oh, yay, PPP. Yes, I missed the first round. Yes, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, you definitely can do this. And yes, it does still apply to Schedule C people, but you do have to show the 25% reduction. So for some people this is going to work, and some people it's not going to work, but I think it's going to really be helpful to a lot of you. So I am cheering you on. I believe in you. I want you to leave from this video feeling more assured about this, that it's there is hope. It's probably going to be January, you guys, mid-January at least, before we get this rolled out, because, you know, it's signed, but now the Treasury and the SBA have to figure out, you know, that interpretive guidance. Then they've got to communicate with the SBA approved lenders. If you didn't work with a bank last time, you know, think hard about which banks you want to work with. I think a lot of us learned a lot of things about the banks last time. I was really surprised by how the community and regional banks pulled through like champions. I never would have realized that. And I am just cheering on my small banker friends because that was incredible to see. But I know that, you know, some of the big banks did really well too. But anyway, good time to make sure you've got a good relationship with your banker. And get your books in order. You guys, you already know 2019 average monthly payroll. Go ahead and calculate that now. Be sure that you can calculate your gross receipts for one quarter of 2020 over 2019. Figure out which one definitely has the 25% reduction. Those are the things you can do ahead of time. We don't know exactly what paperwork is going to be required. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, any loans under 150,000, the forgiveness application, it's going to be a certification and it's going to be one page, not longer than one page. So can't wait for that to come out. So they're definitely trying to simplify. We're trying to make it easier. We want to keep you in business. You employ most of America, and I'm so super proud of you, cheering you on. I'm here for you. Let me know what questions you have and how I can help you. And next week, I'm going to be talking about planning for 2021. So please come back again next week. Invite your friends. It's fun for me to help answer your questions and to help you grow in your confidence so that you can achieve your business goals. Have a great one, you guys. Until next time.